The state capture inquiry has heard Eskom-related testimony today. Former Chief Financial Officer Anoj Singh was on the stand. Michael Apple is following proceedings for us. He joins us now live. So, Michael, the former Eskom CFO being quizzed about how he actually ended up at Eskom and about seemingly clandestine meetings with McKinsey.
Yes. So let's turn the clock back to June, July 2015. It is his evidence and the evidence of other witnesses who have come before the Commission that before he was actually seconded to Eskom from Transnet, where he was also the CFO, he was having meetings with McKinsey as well as regiment's directors. And it's strange to meet with service providers to a state-owned entity at which you haven't yet been appointed as the CFO. So he has painted these meetings that he has with service providers who would go on to earn billions from state-owned entities as onboarding meetings, where he was simply trying to find out the state of Eskom prior to actually going there. And he seemed to be of the belief that the best way to find out about a state-owned entity was to go to one of its service providers. And this, the Deputy Chief Justice says, but if you want to find out what's happening at Eskom, go to Eskom. But he believes that he needed an independent view. And therefore, in June, July 2015, he was having meetings with McKinsey. He claims none of the actual contracts were ever discussed or negotiated with him because he didn't yet work for Eskom. So why would they? But that sort of evidence is being challenged. But just how exactly somebody meeting with a service provider for an SOE for which he doesn't work, this came across a little bit strange even to the Deputy Chief Justice. Here's Raymond Zondo.
There is something that appears on the face of it to be a little unusual, where somebody who is not part of the organization, even if it's contemplated he possibly may be part of the organization in the future, has a number of meetings about that institution with an outsider, not involving anybody within the institution. And then, if I take what you've just said, never has any similar meetings with people from within the institution until he is seconded. But I just wanted to put to you what's in my mind, but it may be that it will be clarified as well.
So McKinsey was contracted as a service provider and would end up using regiments and Trillion as subcontractors for something called MSA. How much was that contract worth?
So MSA, firstly, just stands for Master Services Agreement. It was, according to my understanding, and I mean, these things are very complicated, these are all financial things and contracts can be very detailed, but it was basically to discuss a turnaround strategy at Eskom. It was worth 1.7 billion rand for McKinsey. McKinsey would in turn then have to pay whoever it subcontracts with, the BEE partner to McKinsey, which was initially regiments, is what the understanding was. Regiments morphed kind of into Trillion as of the 1st of January 2016, which is when Bianca Goodson joins them and becomes the CEO. The problem here that he is seemingly unable to explain was, if Eskom has an agreement and a contract with McKinsey, which it did not have an agreement with any of the subcontractors like regiments or Trillion, then why was Trillion directly invoicing Eskom? And he seems to believe that he fulfilled all his fiduciary obligations and duties. And the problem here, once again, is Ms. Goodson, when she was testifying, said that they were invoicing for work that hadn't been done. So it comes down to the levels of obligation. Did he carry out the obligations of a CFO, his fiduciary duties, to make sure that because he's the holder of the purse strings from the public purse flowing through that SOE, if hundreds of millions or tens of millions was going to certain parties for work done, was that work actually done? Mr. Singh continues on the stand, Jahan.
All right. Thanks for the update. Appreciate it. Michael Apple.